dignitaries also paid their respects.
The Pakistan flag is a symbolic that the green side and the white side. The white side represents minorities.
For Pakistan's Christians, the loss of Shahbaz Bhatti is great for some. He's now a martyr. His body was then flown to his native village in the Punjab for burial. Shahbaz Bhatti is not the first victim of the controversy over the blasphemy law, and the real fear is that he may not be the last. Kamal Haider, AlJazeera, Islamabad.
Politicians in Taiwan say they feel threatened by China's plan to boost defense spending by some 13%. Beijing played down the island nation's concerns, but Taiwan is urging the United States and Europe to sell them more weapons to develop their own arsenal. China says that this year's defense budget will total 600 billion yuan. That's 91.5 billion US dollars. Finally, NASA's latest rocket launch has ended in failure.
3, 2, 1, 0, and ignition.
After a successful takeoff, the rocket failed to reach orbit and is now thought to be somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. A protective cover on the rocket's exterior is thought to be responsible. Hello there, you're with Al Jazeera. Adrian Finnegan here in Doha with the stories making headlines this hour. In Libya, opposition fighters are continuing to take on Muammar Gaddafi's security forces in towns across the country. Fresh fightings erupted in the western towns of AlZawiya and Misrata. And we're getting reports of anti-government demonstrations in the capital Tripoli, which is, of course, a Gaddafi stronghold. After Friday prayers, there have been more demonstrations calling for change across the Arab world, including in Yemen. Protesters in the capital, Sana'a, called for the end of the veteran president's rule. And in northern Yemen, it's reported that at least 2 people have been killed during anti-government protests. Protests have also continued in Cairo's Tahrir Square. The new prime minister of the country, Essam Sharaf, addressed the crowd and vowed to work hard to realize protesters' demands. He said that he'd step down if he couldn't. In the Iraqi capital, Baghdad, protesters demanded improved services, better pay and an end to corruption. In the southern city of Basra, security forces used water cannon and batons against anti-government demonstrations there. And people in Jordan have also taken to the streets today. Crowds in the capital, Amman, have been demanding political reform and a constitutional monarchy. Supporters of Côte d'Ivoire's opposition leader have taken to the streets in response to the shooting of peaceful protesters there on Thursday. Young men, some armed with knives, set up roadblocks in Abobo after troops loyal to President Laurent Gbagbo shot dead 6 female anti-government demonstrators. And the UN admits that it's overstretched, but says that Côte d'Ivoire must be given as much attention as Libya. A bomb blast has accompanied Friday prayers at a mosque in northwestern Pakistan. 9 people were killed in Nowshera district. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. And mourners gathered for the funeral of the former minorities minister in Islamabad. Shahbaz Bhatti was shot dead on Wednesday. He'd been calling for reforms to Pakistan's controversial blasphemy law. Politicians in Taiwan say they feel threatened by China's plan to boost defense spending by some 13%. Beijing played down the island nation's concern, but Taiwan's urging the United States and Europe to sell it more weapons so that they can develop their own arsenal. Those are the headlines. The news continues here on Al Jazeera, right after Talk to Al Jazeera.
Libya's crisis has seen the emergence of a host of new and distinct voices in the country. Voices from the east, voices on the internet, and in the capital Tripoli, the emergence of a new Gaddafi voice, that of his second eldest son, Saiful Islam Gaddafi. Educated partly at the London School of Economics, he's long been seen as potentially the reformist figure in his father's 42-year regime. Saiful Islam Gaddafi, Saif, welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. So, the fight back has begun.
It's not the fight back. It's, first of all, it's calm all over the country, except today what happened in El Brega. El Brega is an oil port, so we export most of our oil from there. And because some armed people went to the harbor and trying to control the harbor, so the army sent 12 cars just to protect the harbor. In Benghazi, it's, as you know, unfortunately, it's a big mess. So there is no law and order, there is no government, there is no security, no police, no governance at all.
So will you be moving into Benghazi at some point?
I will tell you something. What's going to happen is the following. The west, the middle of the country, the south is calm, is peaceful, no problem. Some part in the east, by the way, not everywhere, some parts, like for example Darna or Benghazi, the people will fix the situation themselves because it's unbearable. Because now, no schools, no universities, no health care, no salaries, shops are not open. So people cannot live like this forever. So soon you will see the situation will change and the people will fix the situation themselves.
So you won't go in? You won't send the army in?
No, soon you will see. Everything will change soon. So I'm very optimistic.
So bombs have been falling on Briga?
No, not bombs.
Eyewitnesses have seen
jets
bombs, jets bombing.
No.
Well, what have they been doing if they haven't been bombing?
Briga is empty. Briga is an empty area. There is a harbor, there's an oil harbor, and an oil, installation.
So why would you be dropping bombs on an empty area?
No, the aircraft trying to frighten everybody from going near to the oil assets.
Right.
It's very important area. So, but it's a desert. It's empty. It's a desert. It's a flat area. It's not city there.
So no one's been harmed by what the army jets did today.
The army should frighten the people not to go to the harbor because this is a very strategic place for the whole country.
But it's escalating. Has it occurred to you and to your father that there might be an alternative? That if he were to step down, no one would have to issue orders anymore to bomb their own people and potentially, or actually, kill their own people in the process?
This is a very important issue. We're not bombing our people. If we have this decision, we would have bombed the armed militia. They have tanks, they have machine guns, they have arms.
They are your own people.
No. Wait. Let me finish first. We're not even bombing the armed militia. The army is very patient, even with the armed militia. They have heavy weapons, machine guns,